This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is time for Heart Mojo with Melinda Smith. And Melinda has a very interesting guest today, and some personal information that she's going to share too.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks, Karen. I missed you. We haven't been on for a month. I had a big birthday last month, part of why we're here today. And it's kind of exciting. It's different for us. And I think it's really important, though, especially in today's world. You see a lot of tattooing going on, and we want to talk about how we get there and what that's about. So my guest today is Mikayla Highland from Reflections Room Tattoo Company, correct?
Yeah,
correct?
Reflection Room. Yeah, Reflection Room Tattoo Company.
First of all, I love the name. I love the name because you do a lot of reflection when you go there and think about why you make the choices that you do. Your place is absolutely gorgeous. So if anybody looks you up online on your website, they're going to see how amazing it is. It's clean. It's just beautiful.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
I was so impressed. So my reason for coming, first of all, I want to welcome you for doing this. My reason for having you on and my reason for going there was I got, though some of you who follow me see, I put my angel wings and my heart on my arm. Now, the reason I did that isn't because that is my Heart Mojo logo, but the wings I wore through my whole cancer journey, and the heart reminds me to look at all life's challenges through my heart. So that's the reason for the tattoo I got. So what I'd like to ask you about is, how'd you get into this business? What made you decide to do this? And then we're going to talk a little bit about why people make the choices they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Should I begin talking about how I got into it?
Yeah, let's hear about you, a little bit about you and how you got started.
Okay. So ever since I can remember, I was always very into art. I've loved drawing and since I was a child. And I remember the first tattoo I ever saw when I was like probably 6 or 7 on one of my friend's parents. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And it always kind of piqued my interest. So growing up, I had a lot of questions about tattooing and the history and wanted to get tattoos myself. So the minute I could convince my mom to sign for me, I did. So just a strong background in art and the love of tattoos. But my parents weren't exactly big fans of tattooing. So it was a little bit more taboo back when I was in high school and growing up and things. So I actually went to college and my initial major was biochem. So I had a fascination with the human body, and I've always been very interested in science. Mm-hmm. So I did a lot of anatomy and physiology. And while going through college, I still realized that I was kind of always being pulled back to tattooing. One of my professors actually set me up with a job as a receptionist at a tattoo shop when I was in college. And that kind of got my feet wet in the industry and led to me being able to explore my passions a little bit more. And after I graduated, I decided to dive right in. So it just kind of happened that it's my love of art and the human body kind of got married. So
I think it's wonderful. How'd you come up with the name Reflections?
So Reflection Room it's kind of a personal story between my friend and I. My co-owner is Kyle. We really were thinking, you know, we put a lot of thought into it, but the biggest thing when we kind of brainstormed about tattooing was, why do we love tattooing? Because we want people to love their reflections. We want them to love the skin that they're in. And I know for myself, when I was younger, I went through a lot of trauma. I was mauled by a dog when I was 15. So I had a lot of medical problems growing up. So I have a lot of scars on my body. And so tattooing for me, when I started getting a lot of artwork, not only was it that I loved the artwork, but it was a way to cover, you know, part of that trauma. It was a way to make something beautiful out of these scars. And so I think, you know, loving your reflection really spoke to us. And that's why we said Reflection Room. We want it to be a place with lots of mirrors where you can, you know, we want everyone to feel confident when they walk out of here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also think in my head, when I heard it, it's reflecting on where life has taken you. I mean, you're
Mhm.
there for a reason. You had your reason for starting. I had my reason for coming in. Um, a young woman who's kind of like my daughter. I call her my daughter. She's the one that brought me to you. She
Oh,
has
yeah.
a matching tattoo, Ariel. She has a matching tattoo. Her mother passed away. Her first tattoo, her mother had passed away when she was 15, right before her 16th birthday.
Wow.
So she got a tattoo the following year to remember her mother. That's what it was for. And I'm
Oh, wow.
guessing a lot of people do that, maybe get it in memory of someone. Would you
Yeah,
say that's the case?
Yeah, my first tattoo is actually initials for my dad. My dad passed away when I was 7, um, and the first thing when I turned the age of being able to get a tattoo with parental consent was I wanted to commemorate, my love for him, and in in a way I could express on my body. So yeah, it's a very popular choice, and it's a very personal tattoo. It's very special.
Right. Well, I put my wings on because I wore them every single day during my chemotherapy. And I have worn angel wings in some form every single day since that day in
That's
June
incredible.
or May of 2015.
Oh,
So it
wow.
was always my wish to go ahead and put a tattoo on. Now, I grew up
Yeah.
at a time when tattoos were servicemen, Navy men. They were the people who got tattoos.
Yep.
The guys in the service, right? My dad had multiple tattoos that started when he was in service.
Yeah,
So that was the idea, right? That's what people saw in their
yeah.
movies. So for me to get a tattoo with those in my generation, many of them, they're like, oh my God, you're going to get a tattoo? You're too old for a tattoo. That's something kids have. But for me, it was a way to wear my wings on the side where my cancer was every day.
Yeah. I
And
love
now
that.
the people tell me though, once you get one, you tend to get
It's
more.
addicting.
And I would have said no, like when I first went in, I'm like, nope, this is going to be it.
Yeah.
But not that it was painless, but it really wasn't that painful. And maybe it was the location, but I would do it again. If there's something that has meaning to me, I wear bracelets every day. And maybe that's
Yeah.
the way to look at it. I wear bracelets every day with sayings on it or colors that mean something. We
Mhm.
wear other jewelry. I have my wings on here, right? And I wear
Yes.
it every day. What is wrong with having a tattoo that reminds you of the reason
Yeah.
why you're wearing it?
Yeah, exactly. I know when I first started getting tattooed, my mom was like, "Are you crazy?" Because in the same thing with her generation. I mean, I'm 27 now, but even just 10 years ago, the way that it was even more stigmatized, people think you're either a criminal or you're,
Yeah,
you
you're a
know, a
gang member, right?
yeah, a gang member, a biker, and a lot of people still do share that same mentality. A lot of some of the older generations do carry that taboo-ness about tattooing still. So it is still stigmatized. I know when we were opening our studio, people are like, a tattoo shop in Avon Lake? Like, oh my gosh, they're gonna bring riffraff and crime, and we're like, no, like I'm a PTA mom. Like we're not. There's a lot more to it. It's a lot deeper than people think, and a lot of people are getting tattooing as forms of healing, and
Right.
as memorial tattoos. Most of the tattoos I do have meaning. They're special for someone, and like you said, if it's like an accessory you can't take off,
Right.
and it's a permanent part. I know for me, I have another memorial tattoo. My mom ended up passing away in 2016, and I have her signature on me. And
Oh,
like to be
cool.
able to look at that like every day is just one of the most incredible things, because I remember growing up and like just being so astounded at how beautiful her handwriting was. And I look at that every day and it makes me happy and fills me with joy, and it feels like a piece of her is with me at all times.
Mhm.
So I know that like I get to do that for other people, and what an incredible gift that I get to give. I love it. So that's also part of the reason why I'm in this industry. I mean, it's fun and I love art and everything, but the feeling that you get from being able to help people or give people something that they can keep with them forever is pretty crazy.
No,
It's an
I
honor.
think it's amazing. How did you take, just give me a little, run me through the process. How did you take her signature and transfer that? Was it by a stencil or how did you do that?
Yeah, so I know your listeners won't see, but so I have it on my arm.
They'll see.
My mom had a bunch of things written out, and she had a paper with her name signed on it. And I was kind of sneaky, and I knew that I wanted it for a while. And I kind of got her to write her name a few times, and I had kept it with me for years. And so what we do, and when I'm creating stencils for doing handwriting, it seems simple because you're tracing, but we literally get every pen mark where the pen picks up and drops, and we really zoom in and basically trace the signature at a very slow pace, making sure we get every curvature of every letter, and duplicate that into a stencil, and then go over that stencil during the tattoo process. I know for me, when I tattoo a stencil, I like to look at I'll have the original handwriting blown up right next to me too, so I can make sure that if the stencil were to shift in any way, that it is perfect. So it's one of the most personal tattoos someone can get, and it has to be perfect. So
I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
My oldest son already has 2 tattoos. He's 23, 24.
Yeah.
Oh my God, 24. And my youngest doesn't have it yet. He's 21. But I like the idea of that. It's something that, I think about. My grandmother had very distinct handwriting.
Oh yeah.
Of course, today we don't have a lot of handwriting. People aren't taught to do
Mine
it.
is chicken scratch because I never learned cursive. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
When I first got into tattooing, and we do script for people, and people come in, and I do a lot of hand lettering. I had people ask me for certain things, and I literally had to get a child's book for cursive to learn cursive because I was never taught it in school. And I was so
Unbelievable.
I was so embarrassed, but I had people coming in and they'd be like, I want this. And I'm like, don't know cursive, but I will learn it. So now I know cursive, but.
Or if somebody writes well, they could write it for you, right?
Yeah, it was very silly, but yeah, you don't learn that. I feel like a lot of, I don't know, handwriting and stuff that I see in generations that are older than me, it's so beautiful. I wish there was more dedication to that still. The art of written word it's so beautiful. I wish we still did more focus on it.
And we're starting to lose that for sure.
Oh yeah.
So tell me, what is, before we get into another subject that's near and dear to my heart, tell me a little bit about the extent of the tattoos that you do. Do you do them all? How many people do you have there that work with you? Is there certain designs that only some people are really good at and others are not?
Yeah, so the industry has definitely changed a lot, even from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. There's just progress being made. Things change so rapidly. There are 2 different types of studios that are main focus. There are street shops, and those are the shops where you can expect to basically walk in, you have a design, they're basically going to copy it. There's not custom drawing going on. And you can usually get a tattoo that day or within a couple days. That's like a street shop. Our studio isn't one of those. We're a private studio. And a lot of the general public I feel like aren't really accustomed, unless they have a lot of work, to the difference between the 2 types of studios. So for us, we're a private studio. So all of our artists are typically booked out months in advance. And we do custom work. So everything that comes in, unless it's a logo or something very, very specific, that not copyrighted, but very, very specific, that someone wants, handwriting, we're going to tweak it in some way. We're going to make it our own artwork. So we all have our own specialties. For instance, myself, I do a lot of fine line, multi-line weight, black work is what people call it in the industry. So a lot of people might not understand what that means unless you see the difference. But I do a lot of black work, black and gray, and then I like to do watercolor. sometimes like pops of watercolor. So that's my main focuses. I am known for my floral work as well. So I do a lot of floral and then medical tattoo. But we have people here that specialize in everything. So I'm just one artist. Reflection Room started with myself and Kyle Joseph. His name's Kyle Manley, but he goes by his first and middle name in the professional world. So he is a black and gray realism artist and a dot work specialist. So those are his areas of focus. So it started with just us. We opened a month before we got shut down with the pandemic.
Oh my
So
goodness.
we opened in February of 2020. We made a really good choice there. So we've been open a little over a year and a half. And when we started, it was just us two. And now we have, let me tell you how many people we have because I have to do the math. We have we have 3 people doing permanent cosmetics in addition to myself. And then we have 5 tattoo artists, 4 in addition to myself. And then we have a wonderful piercer, and we have 3 front desk staff. So we've turned from 2 people into many people. So we offer pretty much full service. We do everything here from, kids ear piercing to body piercing, medical tattoo. We say custom, cosmetic, and medical tattoo are our focus. And we have color specialists. We have a wonderful artist named Kyra. She focuses on geometric line work and bright, bold color. We have a neo-traditional artist named Alex. She's wonderful. She focuses on traditional and neo-traditional styles with bright, bold color or black and gray. Then we have Liv. She's incredible with fine line. That's who you saw, I think. And then our permanent cosmetics, we have Kat. She's incredible. Kyra also does microblading. And then we have Sarah. Sarah's wonderful. She's my apprentice for tattooing, but she's already passed everything for permanent cosmetics, and she's thriving. And it's just awesome to see our team grow from 2 to many.
Well, I'm so impressed that you've grown like that with COVID. That's amazing.
Thank you.
It truly is amazing. I would have never guessed that would have been the case, right? That you grew through that, but I'm glad. I know that I was with Ariel in June, and the only reason we got in the Friday before my big birthday was because she had a cancellation. And because it wasn't a detailed, really super detailed tattoo. I mean, it's my first one. I don't know. We might have to expand that a little later, but we were able to get in. Otherwise, she was looking at September. So you're definitely booked out.
Yeah. So our artists all right now are, I think in October, I think we're done with September booking. And that's for like one of our artists just moved to the area. Alex, I've had a professional relationship with her for years, but she recently moved to the area. So she's building clientele and just coming on as a full-time artist. So she's typically booked out even further, but she's booked out till October right now. And then Kyle and myself are booked up until I think next March. So
oh my goodness.
Our books are closed. We book typically about a year in advance.
So is that, now I can transition, that's a great transition over to the other piece of what you do. Besides the beauty and the idea that people are doing it in memory or whatever, there's medical piece to this and cosmetic piece.
Yes.
I'm a breast cancer survivor, 5 years out from last treatment, which is also why I wanted to get this when I did.
Yeah.
And I did a double mastectomy. So I know that you do some work for mastectomy patients. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we do medical tattooing at our facility. It's primarily myself and Kat who perform this work. As I told you before, I have a background in my degrees focused in health sciences, the science world. So using that information and having kind of clinical experience prior to getting into my role as a tattoo artist, I always was fascinated with medical tattoo. It's been something since I was in college and learned from a plastic surgeon that it existed. I knew I wanted to get into it once I had a stable footing in body art. So a couple years ago, I studied at the Solar Institute of Tattooing in Manhattan. They are a tattooing institute through UPenn. But I went to their New York location, and I got to study advanced 3D areola and nipple recreation. It's probably one of the most incredible decisions I made in my career. So when my mom passed away in 2016, one of my very dear friends, her mom has been like a second mom to me since I was a child. And she got very sick with breast cancer after my mom passed away. And she was kind of that step-in parent for me when things were going really rough. And so unfortunately, she ended up passing away before I could really finish creating her nipples for her. But it just became a very personal thing for me to be able to offer this service because someone I love went through breast cancer.
Right.
So,
and it is, I mean, for women, so you have two panels of women for this. Some want, or you have a third like me who chose to do nothing so far, which I'm thinking about. So you might see me for that. But the idea is some want to recreate a nipple to look as normal as possible, but some of them put the most gorgeous tattoos, art across their scars. Do you do that as well? And then talk a little bit about that decision. Have you ever had anybody come in and think, oh, I'm going to put nipples on, and then change their mind?
All the time. Yeah. So we talk about, when I have people in, we have a very thorough consultation about what's going to take place. I want everyone to be informed. When you have different levels of scarring and different surgeries, whether it be a flap surgery or, I've had women that have chose to remain flat after double mastectomy. I've had women with implants. It kind of depends on the surgery, but with all these different levels, nipple sparing, non-nipple sparing, unilateral, bilateral, there's so many factors that come into play with the results. Like women that have been radiated sometimes have a harder time healing, or one breast, the radiated breast typically heals darker.
Right.
So these are all factors we discuss. And sometimes after talking about realistic expectations, some women will opt to choose body art. A lot of the time this happens in unilateral clients. So matching an existing nipple, a nipple that was spared, with a faux kind of 3D nipple, because there's no protrusion sometimes, if there's been no recreation by the surgeon, it's very hard to match. So sometimes women will opt for artwork on that side, or they'll decide that they just want to cover it. I've had women do their nipples and then want to surround the nipple with in the areola with floral to cover up their scars. So it's a very personal decision, and people do it for many reasons, whether it be, better desired outcome for coverage, or I had one woman most recently, she had me in tears. She was the sweetest. She got the birth month flower of a friend that she met in chemo, and I'll tear up talking about it right now because her friend passed away and she survived. And sorry, it's just,
that's okay.
It was so personal, and it was incredible to be able to add that into her journey.
Right.
Because she really, really loved this other woman. It just, to be able to give that gift to someone is so incredible. And it's probably my favorite part of what I do.
I think, this show has always been about getting through life's challenges. That's how it started from, we're getting only ceiling now. I know you're wiping your eyes, aren't you? So it's about getting through the journey, right? And getting through life's challenges. And you help people do that. And part of this show is talking about not only the individual, but those who help others. And I can see you have great passion for that. And one of the things anybody listening to this, I really want them to get out of this is the preconceived notion of a tattoo location and the people
Yeah.
who run it.
Mm.
Because look, you are an amazing person. You have
Thank
incredible
you.
skill. You have incredible passion. You know, people don't always see that. And that's why this was important to me. I mean, I could feel that the minute I walked in to your
Yeah.
location, the minute I walked in. And I came with Ariel the first time because she had a different tattoo being put on. And that's when we booked ours with the opening you had. But I
Yeah.
knew that this is a place that I wanted to focus on. I called Karen right away and I said, we got to have this on the show because it's important. It's important that we talk about the art side of it, but it's also important what you do, how you give
Yeah.
people back a piece of their life and make them feel beautiful again. Because for women, particularly, the loss of your breast, like your hair, you know, is who you are as a
Yeah.
woman for a lot of people, a lot of women. And so you give some beauty back, and that's really important and make them feel whole in whatever way they can feel whole.
Yeah, a lot of people, this is the last step. I mean, this is the closure because they've had so much go on through their journey that they just, want to feel whole again. And that's what a lot of women tell me. That's the feedback I get in my sessions, and they're very personal and deeply connected. And I feel like I give a piece of myself to everyone I work on. And it's an incredible it's an incredible thing to be part of that journey for people. And I do the medical tattooing. It's not always breast cancer survivors either. That's something, and it's not always women. People don't realize men get breast cancer. I have done
cancer.
I have done a few men, and just being able to say, like, I've had a few clients, and typically the feedback is just saying, like, being able to take my shirt off at the beach and feel normal and feel whole with my family, playing with my kids. I've had men tell me that too. And it's just to be part of that journey. There's so much more that goes into this side of tattooing and tattooing in general that people just don't know.
Right.
It's a very personal decision.
And that's why I wanted to share this. And besides the breast tattooing and other scar coverage, you do permanent makeup.
Yes.
So I know that, like, I draw in my eyebrows because not all the eyebrows came back from chemotherapy. Only a portion of it came back.
Yeah.
But as I get older and other issues come up, I think, maybe I want to do some permanent makeup there. But do you have a lot of patients that are alopecia patients, or
yes,
other people coming in?
Yes. So that's people get into PMU for permanent makeup for different reasons, and cosmetic tattooing, whichever you want to call it. For me, I know the reason that I started getting into permanent makeup was primarily because I had a lot of clients that came in. This was before I even started working on like areola and nipples so much. I had a lot of clients that came in that had hair loss. So it primarily men. So I had a few men that were like, do you know anywhere that a male can go? And no, because a lot of people that do like the microblading, the eyebrows, they won't do male brows. And so, so that kind of got me interested in kind of looking into cosmetic tattooing. And so this was back in like 2016 that I started doing permanent cosmetics. I did it kind of concurrently with my education in apprenticeship in tattooing. So when I was looking into things and kind of figuring out where I wanted to learn, I wanted to make sure that I had a solid foundation to do, feminine and masculine brows. So I started doing it so I could help men with hair loss at first, primarily one of my friend's dads. And then that turned into taking on clients that had alopecia and never got their hair back from chemo. So I do more of like the medical side of the brows. Girls come in and they want to have their brows look like their makeup, and that's totally cool. But that is more of Kat that's at our studio. She does more of that. And I've had burn clients as well, or I had one girl that was in a car accident and unfortunately the stitches went right through her brow. We filled in. So I focus more on the medical side personally than the beauty aspect, even though I'm trained in it. And then we have people that focus more on the beauty aspect of it as well.
Right.
There's two different things. Obviously, we want them to look beautiful, but I do more of like a natural machine stroke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Trying to match the natural.
Right. Which, if you've only got half a brow, you want it to look as close to the other half as you can do, especially you're not going to pencil it in at all. So have you worked with many patients who have Parkinson's or tremors where they get to a point where they can't put on their makeup anymore? Have you had that?
I've had clients from many walks of life that have different medical conditions. One of my most empowering, and I don't want to say favorite because I love all my clients, but one of my favorite clients that has been with me for years, she's an incredible woman and she has MS. And she unfortunately can't sit still through appointments. And she's even said if like she didn't come to me, she would feel too embarrassed to go to someone else because the way that her condition has developed throughout the years of me tattooing her, her mobility has been impacted and she shakes a lot. And she's worried and embarrassed that she shakes and she can't sit still for a tattoo appointment. And we do things to make sure she's comfortable and that we can still provide her excellent quality work, even though she has that disability. So I do have clients, she's just one that sticks out, but I have clients that have been through many things. I do have a client that she does not have Parkinson's. She has another, I'm trying to remember the technical name right now, but she gets tremors really, really bad.
Essential tremors?
Yeah, she right now, at our last session, we were talking about how she had just gotten a stabilization spoon for eating. So she gets very bad tremors in her wrists and she can't quite hold anything. So she actually has an appointment lined up to get her brows done because she wants to get them now while she still is she's still in a mobile enough state to care for the aftercare of them.
Right.
But she knows that it's going to be soon that she's going to have limited ability for self-care, unfortunately.
Right.
So, and that's like heartbreaking. So it's just, there's a lot of unfortunate illnesses and things that you don't think about that can impact the beauty routine or things that make us feel like us.
Right.
And we're able to somewhat achieve that normalcy for people through tattooing.
And that's, it's just general grooming type things that
you
think about on a daily basis.
Yeah.
It's just second nature for us to be able to do that. But
absolutely.
as time goes on, if you have one of these illnesses, it's bad enough you have to deal with the illness, but then to not be able to care for yourself or look as good as you possibly can.
Yeah.
It definitely affects your psyche all the way around. So
What
what
are
you're
some
doing is fixing that.
What are some of the other cosmetic tattoos you do? I know you do eyebrows, but what else could somebody have done?
So recently I had a client, I do them for all reasons, vanity or medical, whatever it may be. But I had a client that unfortunately had a grease burn on her cheek. It happened at work. It was unfortunate, but she has really, really pretty freckles and it caused loss of pigment. So we went in and we corrected the pigment and then added her freckles back. You can get freckles, you can get your lips done. We do lips, eyeliner. You can get any service. I like to say for permanent cosmetics, I try to stay away from eyeliner personally, because there is a degree of migration no matter how old you are or when you get it done, or if you get it done by the best technician out there. Realistic expectations, because black is typically a high carbon pigment, even though permanent cosmetic ink is designed in a way that it is thinner and has less migration than standard tattoo ink. There is still a degree of migration that happens over the longevity of having eyeliner. So I try to steer my clients away from it unless they really, really feel like they need it personally. But we do offer it. So that's something that I try to be realistic with everyone. I want them to know, like, we're not just in this for profit. We always put people before profit. And it's really important to me that people understand the outcome that's going to happen. So
Absolutely.
primarily I do freckles, lips, eyebrows, and then scar camouflage.
So you can camouflage somebody's scar. What about if it's a person of color? How do you handle scarring in people of color?
I have very strong opinions in our industry. You should not be tattooing unless you know how to work on all skin types. That's my opinion. I think that this industry can sometimes be very exclusive, and here we try to provide a very inclusive environment. So we're trained, and I make sure everyone here is trained on all Fitzpatrick scale. So that's every skin type, whether you are the palest pale or the darkest dark. We should be trained on how to appropriately address skin. So with darker pigmentation, sometimes there is a higher risk of keloid, but typically people will already know that before they get to the tattoo process, because they already have some level of scarring, so they know. Right. And tattooing can actually stimulate collagen and reduce scarring. So what we do not only is pigment matching, but there's also dry tattooing, which can kind of cut down on some of that hypertrophic scarring. So it's interesting. There's a few different ways you can tackle it, but everyone here is equipped to handle any skin type that does scar camouflage. So we handle it just like you'd handle anyone else.
So we're nearing our time limit here. I know you got to go back to work, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on. But if you had a message to put out there, I was faced with my cancer challenge. I had my way of dealing with it, ended up doing this because it meant something for me. But what message would you like to put out there of not only for the industry? So if you were to talk to somebody about the industry means to you and why you do what you do, what kind of message do you want to leave anybody listening to this show today?
I would say that tattooing is a lot more than what you think it is. I think that this industry, there are people that are in it for money or for art, but the majority of us, we really give a piece of ourselves when we tattoo, and we care about our clients. I don't take anything on that I'm not passionate about. And it's really important to me that my clients have a good experience. So as long as you're someone who does your homework and you make sure you're going to a reputable place and, research your artist, I want you to know that there's a lot of us out there that really care, and we're not scary criminals. We're not going to, you're not going to encounter a lot of sketchy stuff. I'm sure those places still exist. There are some places like that feed into the stereotypes, but as an industry, we've made a lot of progress. And I guess for the older generations, just, try to have a more open mind, because we can really help people with what we do.
I will tell you, I was at James Taylor concert in a sea of gray and white hair. And there were a couple ladies next to me, and the one lady had multiple tattoos on her arm. She was a retired nurse.
That's awesome.
And yeah, it was awesome. So, I pointed to my guy, look, because he wasn't so keen on my getting this. But what's the oldest? I mean, she was maybe 8 years older than myself. I'm guessing. What's your oldest client?
The oldest client that she's 93 now, but I started tattooing her about 4 or 5 years ago. I think she was 89 when I started tattooing her. Because she wasn't quite 90 yet. She got her first tattoo with me because this is so funny, but her husband had passed away, and she said he never would have let her get a tattoo. So she got her first tattoo a month after, and it was a tattoo for him. And I thought she was so silly, but I have clients in their 90s. It's obviously there's adjustments you have to make as an artist, because collagen, in the skin, elasticity and things change over time.
Skin is really thin too, the older they are.
Yes. So you have to know how to change your needle depth and be skilled to work on an older client. but I have clients of all ages, and I have a lot of clients for medical tattoo that are older.
What about your youngest?
My youngest, 16, and I'm really adamant about not tattooing under 18. So it takes a very special circumstance for me to approve a minor client, and it's typically for loss of a loved one.
Like what happened with Ariel.
Yeah, so it's a really, we're very strong here in making sure that people are making good lifelong decisions with their artwork. And even if people are 18, there's a lot we turn down. We turn down a lot of tattoos if we don't feel ethical about making that decision. If I can't look at myself in the mirror at night after I tattooed it, I don't want to tattoo it.
Right. Is there any younger person that comes in for medical reasons, for a medical tattoo?
I have a few clients right now, and it's very sad to say, but I have one client who's incredible. I've known her for a few years, and she's in a fight for her life right now with kidney disease. She's in kidney failure. And she got on prednisone, and she had scarring due to weight gain from the steroids. And unfortunately, and she wanted to have that covered. So, we talked to her, we got medical releases for it. We talked to her doctor about it, and, we covered that so that she could feel normal again and not look in the mirror and look at those scars. I also have another client that is barely 21 and just had a double mastectomy. So, it's just like, it's horrible. I mean, I think people don't realize cancer and medical conditions affect people of all ages. And so having access and information about medical tattoos is really important.
Absolutely.
Do you have people that come from out of state to you?
Yeah. Yes. I get a lot of people that travel. It's a lot of, especially for medical tattoo, I get a lot of people out of state or that fly out or drive out. With COVID, it was a little bit harder because I had a few clients I had to reschedule, and we weren't taking people from high risk areas. I couldn't have them. I didn't want to be exposed to people that were flying in. But on my schedule for next year, provided everything stays or gets better, I should say.
It will.
Yeah. So, provided COVID is not crazy, I have a lot of clients that are flying out for my schedule starting in 2022. I'm about to go on maternity leave, so
yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to let you go. I know you have to get back to work, but I can't tell you what a pleasure it's been to have you on the show. And I really, again, want people to know how to reach you. So can you give them how to reach out?
Yeah. So we have a website. It's www.reflectionroomtattoo.com. You can send us an email at scheduling@reflectionroomtattoo.com for more information. If you wanted to reach out to me personally, my books are closed for body art, but I am always taking new medical clients, except for the 6 weeks that I'll be off having my newborn. I'm always taking new medical clients. I make sure to leave time in my schedule so that I can get people in as soon as possible. So if you want to reach out to me directly, it's Mikayla@reflectionroomtattoo.com is my email, or you can find me on Instagram at Mikayla Tattoos, and I have a link to my website and how to book all on my Instagram page.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. I hope everybody learned that there is this way to get through challenges that you may be experiencing, whether it's medical or emotional, and that they're reputable people who really care, and they're truly artists. And
Thank you.
I can't tell you what this meant to me, and it was a simple one, but it meant a lot. And I have a feeling you're going to see me in the future for help as we move forward. So thank you again. I really appreciate your time.
And thank you for having me on. It's been an honor to be part of this show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Take care.
You too.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Bye-bye now.
Bye.